All right, welcome to another episode of Free Code Friday. My name is Jason Bach. This is episode, what is it again? Must be 9. Episode 9. All right, so all the episodes I've been doing up until now have been focused on, take my glasses off for a second, have been focused on doing, let's make sure. Good, it's recording. Got to make sure about that. Should probably clean my glasses before I did this. Do the actual real cleaner, but this is just the side of the t-shirt. That'll work for now. All right. So anyway, so all the videos I've done before this have been doing stuff in my mocking library called Rocks. And at the end of my last episode, I said enough's enough, and I mean it. This time I'm going to go on a completely new path, and I mean new. This is totally a new project. No code exists for this yet. I have notes. I have ideas. And I know where I want to go. And it's not going to be, at the end of the day, it's going to seem like it's not something that's the real big deal. But this is something that's, I guess, bugged me in a way. But one of these things of, I wish there was an easier way to do this. And what am I talking about? Editor config files. All right, so what is an editor config file? Let me go into, of all things, Rocks, because it'll be a good starting point. All right. And if I remember right, if I go off to my solution here and I say, whoops, gotta switch my keyboard. I love, I'm getting in the, I love this keyboard. I think it's not called Surface. It's a starts with an S, and I'm completely blanking on the name of the keyboard. But I do like it. It works out really well. But the function keys have the switch, so you can go back and forth. They didn't put the I forget on my laptop. They had the blue key, and then you hit that along with the function key, and then it does the blue thing on it. This one you have to switch, and sometimes I forget to switch back and forth. So anyway. That's what I wanted to do. So if I look here, you can see I got this editor config file. And if I open that up, it looks like this. Okay, so these are settings that you can put in this file such that an editor can look at it and see if it exists, look at it and go, oh, this is what I should do for any code that exists within this directory or subdirectories. So for example, if I go back to your Rocks, you'll see that I've got all these other directories. Everything honors this. Okay, so what Visual Studio does is, this isn't solution based, by the way. This is directory based. So my solution or my projects have no idea that this is here. But what Visual Studio does is it keeps going, well, you opened a solution, and so you may have projects here, there, everywhere, and you can actually have editor configs within those. That's what this root element is here for, because it keeps, like, if you say root is false, then it will keep going up until it doesn't find any at the root directory, or it finds one and that says root is equal to true. Then it doesn't go up any higher. Okay, so I typically just have one, and I put it at the solution level. It's the easiest way to do it. And so things like tab, I just found out Bill Gates, I guess on a Reddit, he said that he uses tabs, and take that for what it's worth, but I was like, yes. Interesting how Bill Gates and Microsoft years ago was, they were the villains, they were the evil people, and I personally think that mentality about Microsoft is gone. I mean, the other big companies are, if anything, they're just as evil or even worse. I don't know. But, what the guy's done with his money, in recent history is absolutely astounding, and that's very inspirational. Anyway, he uses tabs, so cool. Bill Gates likes tabs. But the point of this is that I can specify this to be tab or space, doesn't matter. And what it will do is say, even if you have space set up in Visual Studio, this uses tabs, so I'm going to make this use tabs. Okay, so then whenever you hit the tab, it's actually going to insert a tab, not a space. But you can do, there's a handful of, in fact, let me go into here. Let me type in editor config. Because there's actually a site. And this basically says, here's the ones, and how you do this and what are the things you can set. And there's like a handful, very small handful of ones that, I mean, if you look at this is kind of like an ini file. It's not that big of a format. But what's interesting about this is that this gives you kind of a setup to say, hey, we'll give you the basics, and then for different coding languages or whatever, you can put in your own. Okay? So the point being is that C# and .NET have said, hey, we're going to put in these. These are not part of the spec. I think they actually, file format details, yeah. So you can see they really don't have much here for supported properties. Okay, complete list of properties. I've actually never gone this far. Max to line. Okay, so they have some, but they don't have like all the ones that would be relative to a particular language. They just couldn't do that. Okay, so here you'll see things like, do I want to do expression bodied members? And what that means is if I have a method that just says one thing, one statement, whatever, in my function or my method, instead of using the curly braces, use the expression body member syntax. Okay, and the error in this case is saying I actually want this to show up as a red squiggly. Now this doesn't fail the build in Visual Studio. It only shows you the red squiggle. It does show up in the error list. Maybe sometime in the future this will actually change so that errors in your editor config will cause your whole build to fail, and I would personally like that to happen, but I'm just a sadist that way. Masochist, whatever. I forget which one it is. But I like feeling pain in code. I like being very strict about, hey, if I want something on, then make it so that it's hard for me to ignore. Don't make it a warning. Don't make it a suggestion, because then I'm not going to see it. Red, I'm not colorblind. Red is going to stick out, and if it's an error, then I will notice it, and that's why I would like it to actually stop the build and make it fail, because then it forces me to go in and fix it if I missed it before. Okay. So the point is with this file is that it can really enforce a lot of formatting and styles in your code. And I want to be very clear on this, that this is really focusing on the things that if you didn't have these in place, pick one or the other. And it's really a convention. It's really a preference. For example, I like var. So this is basically saying, these are basically saying that when I declare a variable, use var unless there's certain cases where you can't. You actually, if I think you're saying an expression or a func, the compiler can't tell which one you're meaning, so you have to say one or the other. But in virtually most cases, you don't have to specify the type. And I like doing less keystrokes, so I like var. Some people are, well, I want to look at the code outside of Visual Studio, and so I don't know what the type is, and so having the type in the code helps. I get that. I then will say, well, a well-named variable, like if it's a list of the customers, it's probably going to be a collection, and I really need to know it was a collection or an immutable collection or a concurrent bag or something like that. Maybe, maybe not. So in general, I like var. So this will enforce it. But from a technical perspective, from a compilation perspective, and from a runtime perspective, does it matter if you use var or a fully qualified type? No, it does not. The end result will be exactly the same IL. It will be run the exact same way. There will be no performance benefits either way. Same thing with tabs. Although I did do a talk at last year's Twin Cities Code Camp on tabs versus spaces. And that was hilarious because I actually went really deep into doesn't matter from a compilation standpoint and whatnot if you use tabs or spaces. From a file size format, you actually get smaller files, but it was more done in jest than anything, but I actually got pretty technical with the analysis. But from a runtime perspective, nobody cares. Your users are not going to care. Tabs versus spaces does not matter. So these are, in all honesty, just preferences. And quite honestly, I will pick tabs if I win. But if I'm on a project that people want to use spaces, I really do not care. I'm not going to spend hours fighting about it. What I really care about is consistency. everybody does it the same way. I don't want to look at somebody's code and go, oh, this person wrote it or that person wrote it. On a project, if you can have consistency, if you can have people doing things the same way, it's less mind noise that you have to look at in the code and try to figure out why did somebody do it this way. Okay, so this just takes the arguments away in a lot of cases, and this is the way we want to do it. The rub is a lot of these, and I don't even have in this file all of them that you could do. As we dive into this more, you're going to see, but the problem is that there's no easy way for you to come up with this. Yes, there's an extension that you can get from Visual Studio. It helps you edit these and gives you some IntelliSense, but to really figure out what these are, I've been writing up a bunch of notes here in this, and I think I grabbed them. Yeah, here. So if I come back over here, so, and I gotta say, I love docs, Microsoft.com, so much better than any docs I've ever had before. So they have like all the language and formatting conventions and the naming conventions. They have this all documented, and that's great. But what I would like to do is have some way to say, well, maybe look at the way I have my settings currently in Visual Studio and say, emit me a editor config, at least give me something to start with. And that may work. There's a lot added in Visual Studio 2017 in terms of being very specific about naming conventions and whatnot, and we'll talk about this here, but you may not have even looked at those or know what they are. Maybe you want to say, hey, based on the way my style, the way I write my code, generate one from that. And so I started thinking about that, and I went, that sounds like kind of a cool idea, to actually say, hey, give me a piece of C# code and figure out, do I want to have here my indent style to be tab or space? Or, do I use vars all the time? So do that. Start to figure these out by looking at my code and just emit one for me. And that's based on my style. And so then I can get that, and then I can start using that around in other projects, and then I can have something that's going to get a lot of these defined for me, is the hope. Okay, cool. So how do I do this? So that's where I started looking at code and going, well, we have the compiler API, and there are visitors. We can walk a file and look at all of its contents using the visitor pattern. Okay. Now I have to look up the class name because I forgot it. It's part of the reason I write books and do presentations and all this other stuff is because it helps me remember where I have references to stuff. And so I know in the book I wrote on the compiler API, I did a whole section on the walkers. I just forgot what the class name was, and so I can go look that up, and I already know where that is. So. Anyway, and this is kind of why I'm doing this, because I wanted to do something different and they're all doing stuff, and let's see where it goes. All right, so that's the intent of this project, is to come up with a tool that I can give it a CS file, I can give it a CS proj file, I can give it a solution, I could give it a set of solutions, and just say, have at it. Find all the CS files, do your analysis on that, try to glean as much as you can from that file, and then create an editor config at the end of the day. Okay, and then maybe I can omit some statistics. Maybe one of the things I thought of is consistency. How consistent are you with that style? Like maybe you're doing 100% var all the time, or maybe you're doing like 55% var and 45% default or the type name. So you get like a consistency value for every little setting, and then across your whole project or whatever you gave the tool. I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of cool, because I'm going to get all those statistics as I do this, so why not? Okay. So that's the intent of that. This is going to be called EditorConfigGenerator. Okay. Great name. Couldn't think of anything else. And it just has one main purpose. Look at your code and create an editor config file based on your style. All right, so I keep saying this, but this is like putting myself on the line a little bit. I have nothing right now. I just put notes together. I thought about this one night, and I put these together. And of course, as notes go, I will forget what I said where and how and why. And I tried to be good with these notes and try to make sure that I could go back at them and go, oh, that's what I meant. Like flags here. I had the idea of eventually the console app that I write. You can put flags in and capture the stats in a different file and specify default severity and stuff like that. So this has potential to go a little far. So how am I going to do this? Well, the first thing I need to do is get my project set up here. Okay, so the idea is to have the core app, .NET Core app, and then have the core library. This will be .NET Standard, and then have some tests. Okay, so let's get that set up first. So file, close solution, and then file, new project, project types, and we want this in my handy dandy little code projects folder where I put everything. EditorConfigGenerator. Got the spelling right? All right. First thing, I need my editor. Let's actually grab that. Add a new project, standard, which is really 471. I'm never going to let that go. Core. Okay, file close. I know you like to do class 1, but I really don't want that. I want to set for all of them, all. Yep, and then I got to do some editing myself because these can just go up here. And then I also want the lang version to be the latest. All right, cool. So that's it for now. And that is a .NET Standard. Yep. All right, cool. See, again, this is one of those that I'm hitting this, and why? Why are you doing that? Why why do you have different key bindings for things that I'm doing? Because then I did this, and that's not what I want. So let's come here. Go add another new project. And this one's going to be a .NET Core project. Class library. EditorConfigGenerator.core.tests. Close. This will have a dependency on this project. It will also need test SDK. Yep. I'm going to go with my handy dandy N unit. Yep. And then the test adapter. All right, so we got that set up. Okay. And then I need my actual command line app, console app, and that's also going to be core. And that will just be called that. Oh, I gotta remember to change those. This will get rid of that. Oh yeah, you need that. I mean, you don't need that because I'm not telling you to do that. Okay, that's good. This also will need a reference to the core. And this, nope. All I need to do here now is say, really, that should also go into that. And it should also go into this. All right, build. There's no code in this. Well, there is a little, the program file. Wow, Bill, let's run all tests. There are no tests, but, you know, I never hurt anybody. And I already forgot what the name of the, no, Server Explorer. I don't want to go to Server Explorer. I want to go to Test Windows, Control-ET. And you don't do it. I think I had the same problem. Well, they all passed. This one should actually be the startup. Okay, so I think I got everything set, at least from a project standpoint. Doing good on time. So let's go over to here. And I'm not used to the new UI here just yet. I don't have a repository yet. New repository. This will be editor generator. Initialize the README, do a Visual Studio, get ignore, license, MIT. Now what it should have done, I come here, I go EditorConfigGenerator. Yes, did all the right things. Actually, before I forget, I want to come here and go rocks and grab the editor config that I do have defined here and put it there. All right. It just seems weird to me. Why would it not? Like, it's just showing this one file. Oh, duh. Because when I made I think what I'm saying, when I made the repository, it took what was there based on the get ignore file and said, that's your initial repository. So now I've got this. All right. Okay, so what do I need for stuff? Well, if I come back to my notes here, I was having the idea of, for example, I do want to pick the var one first. And so, because I don't have a lot of code here, this might be a little tough. But if I just throw something in here and say like var x is equal to 42 console right line x. Okay, well, if I go into the syntax visualizer here, what I kind of broke down is how do I figure out that you put a var here? Well, the identifier name here is var is equal to true. Okay. Now, if I actually said int x, which my editor config is now kicking in here and saying you should use a var. But what that's saying here is that it's a predefined type and is var is false. So, and I did more examples and things like that and said, well, how do I really know what I'm looking for? And so I think I got it down to looks for identifier name syntax for there. More of the point, and this is the thing, even with what I have here, this might be wrong, but more of the point, look for a local declaration syntax, then move to its variable. So like if I come here and I say, well, this is a local variable, so there's your local declaration statement, the whole thing. And then I would need to go to variable and look for either an identifier name syntax or a predefined type syntax. And I don't know if they have a common base type, and then look to see if his var is there. Because if I make this a var, there's still going to end up being a local declaration statement. It's just what's underneath it is going to be slightly different. Okay, so and even at the local declaration, there is no var. You have to dig down and look at the child members of the tree. So okay, let's do that. So what do I need to do first here? Let's get rid of the visualizer. And what I thought I would need is, if I look back at my notes, is I need a style class. Add a new item. The name is going to be style. And this should be it's going to be abstract because you never need to create a version of this. It's only subtypes that you would. So one of the things I thought of is it needs a setting. So this is basically something like this, and you don't need to pass it into the constructor, but I think there needs to be like a public string setting property that get, and so subclasses would have to set it. And in fact, while I'm doing this, let me actually take the idea for one of my subtypes here. Whoops, not from the notes. Okay. Over here. And this is going to inherit from style. So and then that's going to be this. And then, oh, that's going to be virtual. Actually, that's going to be abstract because you have to. Yeah, that's going to bark. I guess I could do this for now. I'll just do this for now. That's fine. All right, so that's the thing on the left. And then the value is a little interesting because there are some conventions that use true or false. There are some that, like the new line before open brace, that uses all. Naming conventions use a lot of them. There's different ones. So there's I'm thinking of using the immutable list to say, well, tell me what styles are possible. But the value, the value. What do you want the value to be, or what the values could be? So it knows what it can generate. And I'm thinking about this going, well, the whole point of this is that it's going to be given a node or a set of nodes or something like that. And it's going to have to go and say, well, based on what you gave me, I need to keep track of statistics. I need to keep track of certain things. And what those are is going to vary based on which one I'm doing. So I'm questioning myself now. I didn't want to use an enum or something like that. That felt a little too constrained, too constricted. I don't think that's going to work. So what do I actually want to say here? There's a severity, and the severity list does look consistent, like it's going to be none, suggesting warrior. Now again, I could make these enums, but the intent is I'm going to be generating string content. I'm going to be putting something into a file. So having these as enums kind of feels a little weird. because I don't see the point of having an enum and translating it all over the place. Well, let's just keep going. I don't want to spend too much time thinking about this. I do need statistics. So statistics is basically like you have custom statistics. So you could say, like, are you keeping track of Boolean statistics? The number of times you have a true case of this, or the number of times you have a false case of this. There are some that are going to be accessibility level statistics for public and internal. So you basically have things that you can keep track of, and each one can then pick the one that they want. So I think so what I'm going to do here now is come back here and say add. And then occurrences, yeah, public uint. Okay. But that's it. That's it. That's all it knows is, well, the number of times that it ran into figuring this out. It's not the number of times one or the other, or in case it's doing. It's just saying, hey, for this style, I happened this many times. So, for example, like with the one I'm creating, I need Boolean statistics. Great. So actually I want to call this total occurrences, and then have a uint of true occurrences, and also false ones. All right, so that's and then styles also have a T statistics. Okay, and actually I forgot on the statistics it's going to be protected. So what I'm saying here now is in this, there. So this has that. Now, I thought of keeping these immutable because I don't want to, I don't want to care about mutable state. I'm a little tired right now. But what did I say in my notes here? I had this idea of on the style to say update statistics based on statistics that you're giving it. But the statistics already have the total on here, so that's being owned by the style. Because I'm trying to see what your style is. I'm trying to figure out what it is that you need for your settings. And so style, for a particular style, it needs to know statistics. But as it's doing it, it needs to update them. The problem with what it's doing, for example, like this style here, if I say, that's right. The style itself will be told whenever it runs into an instance of something that it's looking for. And then something has to give it to the style and then say, you look at what you have, and then you update your values. So in the case, okay, so I think I gotta now come here. This is the all-in-one, but Visual Basic. Who needs that? Is there anything in this one? No, that just says dependency on that one, and I don't need that one. So I think this is all I'm going to need. Okay, so if I go back to style here, the thing though is I can't. For the case of var, it's going to be one node, and from that node I go down, but I know that that's my starting point. I don't know in other cases if I'm going to need to have more than one node passed to me. Okay, you ain't going to need it. Yeah, let's go with what I do know, which means a T node. Now, what do I mean by this? If I come back to my C# style, because I just need to type in some code so you can see what I'm getting at. What is that thing that I found? Cool, it found what I was looking for. Because if I now, simple name syntax syntax node, I think is what you're finally going to get to. Oh, C# syntax node. And it goes to a syntax node. Okay, the lowest possible thing you can get to. And maybe that's too low, but the point of what I'm getting at is I want where T node is a type of that. Okay, so then if I come here, what I want this to be, if I go back to my notes, is that should be a local declaration statement. This is syntax. You lie. That, I think, is the right thing. Yeah, I'm almost positive that's the thing I'm looking for. Okay, so now what I can say is if I come back to my type here, I can add a method here that says public style of t statistics t node, basically to this. And this has to be implemented by the subtype. Handle process process a t node. So you're going to give it a t node. If I come back here, now I should have, no, not that. Generate overrides. You're going to, yeah, that's what I thought you were going to do, but that's okay. I want this up here, so I like those first. Okay, so what this is telling me is now I got a local declaration syntax node, and now I should be able to go in and update my statistics. The problem is that I don't have a way, as far as I can tell now, of making this immutable in a generic way. What I would like to have is a method that says update, but I can't do that in a generic way here unless I start going into 1 or 2 or 3, you know, here's 4 values, tell me, you know, what they should be. That doesn't make sense to me. So by convention, I need something to say on my Boolean statistics, public Boolean statistics update, giving a uint of a false occurrence, a uint well, actually, in this case, I can say is true, bool is true. And so what I can do is say this dot true occurrences equals if it's true, then is this true occurrences plus 1, else it's just what that is. Same thing with the false one, except the other way around. Oh, that's right, I can't, yes, I need a public of total occurrences. I see that. I see that. All right. Okay. Why are you not? That feels weird. Oh, don't be stupid. There. So now here, that goes away. Yeah, okay. There, now that does it. And so now in my update, what I can say is return new Boolean statistics. This is going to be this dot total occurrences plus 1. And then we got a new one. Then it's true occurrences, and I know I could use the new 7.2 thing where I could actually put the labels in or not if I don't want to. And then grab that. And then now, what don't you like about this? Oh, it's got to be it's just this true. It's not that and that. And I can actually move that there. There. Okay, so what the hell did I just do? I made these immutable, and basically I just say update it. Whenever the style gets a new process, it's going to it's going to figure out what it is, and then it's going to return a new one of these based on the updated statistics. This is the kind of design I'm going for, but maybe not quite. But I think I'm out of time for this episode. Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm going to stop with this now. So this is the first step of many with this library, and we'll just see what the progress goes. But thank you for watching. If you got any comments or questions, let me know down below. Otherwise, thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye.